Welcome to Mam's Talk. We're Mam's Talk Survivor. I'm still in the game. I live to see another day, but unfortunately, our co-host, our co-mam here, Jessica, is no longer with us. How you feeling?
Um, Pretty devastated about the blow. But also it felt like it was a long time coming, having watched all the episodes back. So,
Yeah.
uh, I'm less disappointed in hindsight, I think.
Yeah, I think you played a good game.
Yeah, I think that I had a pretty good showing considering.
And listen, we've had the mark on us from the beginning, so
Yes, yes. I think what my honestly like my best move would have been to just like gang up on you, I think.
uh,
I I wouldn't have done it. Like I wouldn't have done it. Like I'm not like regretting not doing that, but I think that if I logistically wanted to think about what the best path to the end for me is, I think getting you out actually helps me a lot.
okay. Noted
Because we were using each other.
for a potential future season. Noted.
No, 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 no. This is not me saying that hey, I said it in my exit interview that if it couldn't be me, I wanted it to be you. I've already had my
Yeah.
day in the sun. And I'm happy that you were able to continue your journey. So, um,
Right.
I uh yeah, but just thinking about it from like a purely game perspective, I think
Yeah.
the idea we thought or I thought, I mean we both definitely were playing the shield game with each other.
Right.
But I think that we were making each other, at least for me, because I was the shield to you, I think, at least, but you were not a
Yeah.
shield to me. You were making me seem more dangerous than I maybe was. So,
That's fair. That's fair. I think I enhanced your target,
yeah, like
which
I
was not
think
my intention, but
no, 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 and I think that this is a very like duos focused game. Like, who are the duos? Who
yeah.
can we get out?
Yeah.
Um, which I wasn't really expecting to be the case. So I'm really, again, in hindsight, particularly not surprised about the way that this went down.
Right. In hindsight. So I guess let's talk about what we were thinking going into the the Mergatory. Where were our heads
Yeah.
at?
So I remember right before the Mergatory, we had asked Max for his idol clue. Like he had just
Correct.
given us his idol clue. Um, and then when Zach presented the challenge where we're taking the necklace, we felt like even though Max was like number one target of us, and maybe it would make more sense for us to go to tribal just as a tribe and vote Max out and then keep the other four together who had like just been through this alley vote. Um, it seemed like Max trusted us enough to share the idol clue, so we didn't
Yeah.
really want to just like turn around and vote him out. So we decided our best bet would be to just try and flip the aces because by all logic, they really were like they're not a united front.
Yeah.
Like they are in practice, but I think mentally they are split a lot of ways in this moment.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's kind of just following marching orders at this point. Um, and I think that we did have a decent shot at flipping some people, even though we were inevitably bamboozled.
Yeah. I like what you said about like that Max sharing his idol clue was like a big part of us being like, okay, we have to stick together. I
Yeah.
kind of forgot about that aspect of it, so I'm kind of regretting not putting it into the episode.
I honestly don't
Um,
even know if we were filming, were we?
oh, it was filmed,
Oh,
yeah.
it's filmed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But
behind the scenes context.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, the current dynamics are interesting with that regard because I think that really solidified that we could move forward together even though like he
Yeah.
was the one we were gonna get out at this
Yeah.
point it was just like now we're one, we're
Yes.
clearly like on the bottom here of this big
Yeah.
group, so it wasn't really ever an option for us to take
Yeah.
the idol.
For sure. And I wanted to work with you guys much more than anyone on the other tribe. So I felt like me, obviously in hindsight, it seems like a really stupid move that I didn't just take the idol and send this
Yeah.
to tribal, because I go home either way. And I think if I had known that that was so concretely going to happen, I probably would have done something different to focus on short-term safety. But when thinking about setting yourself up for the long game, it doesn't really make any sense to like completely betray my closest allies in that way.
Yeah.
I think that I would have been like completely ousted from our alliance if I
Right.
had done that.
It saves you for the one round, but
Yeah.
moving forward, I think that puts an even bigger target on your back from the already like disproportionate numbers game that
Yeah.
we're playing here. Now it's gonna be like, oh well, Jess is so cutthroat. She
Yeah.
took the idol. Blah, blah, blah. So
Right.
it was never gonna happen, and we had
Yeah.
to try to do
Right.
something more creative than just being like, okay, we're taking the idol and
For
Max is
sure.
going.
Yeah, like I think that there was enough of a chance that it could work that it was worth the shot. And and then the same kind of thing with like playing my shot in the dark. Like in theory I could have played my shot in the dark, but I felt like there was a chance that we flipped someone.
Yeah,
So if we could at least flip to a tie, that would have changed a lot. And I think like had I played my shot in the dark and then turns out people flipped and then we still didn't have the votes, I would have felt like really frustrated that that's what
yeah,
happened. So I feel like I'm always hesitant to like take the immunity or take the chance at safety. I feel like I really like focus on in general like what my path forward is and like what my relationships with people are doing for me
yeah,
going forward and like is it really worth throwing out all of your allies if it means you get to make the merge? I don't know. Like probably not. In my
yeah,
opinion, no.
yeah.
Obviously
And
like
and I think
a lot
that
could
that path is like pretty clear. Like I don't
yeah.
think there's any wiggle room there to do something else after you make that move. So I think we
Yeah.
made the right move. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And to the Aces' credit, they really fooled us.
They really
I
did.
felt like so solid. I was like, Grant's with us. Um, Vanessa and Liz, like, we're good.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. We really thought that like particularly Grant and Vanessa, I felt like really
Yeah.
fooled by. And I think the other thing that they did that was really smart was they didn't even say my name to anyone, like even among themselves, as far as I could tell. They were really
Hmm.
riding the fact that if it was going to be someone from the Aces, it was going to be you. And that scared me in a way that's different than the way I'd be afraid for myself. Like I was like, oh shoot, like I have to figure out how to combat Kay leaving, but it's not like I'm fighting for my life. Whereas, like, maybe if I had known I was fighting for my life, I would have fought harder in different ways. Potentially,
Hmm.
like, agreed to vote with them, to vote someone I didn't care as much about out, you know what I mean? Like, um, in a way that would be also a betrayal of the alliance, but like something could have been worked out there potentially if I had known
Yeah.
I was the target, but it was either Roos or it was you. That was like what I had been
Right.
hearing.
And
So,
I also think this is where the luxury of time for them really
yeah.
worked out because they had
Yes.
so much downtime to talk about what happened when they got to the
Yeah.
merge. And like for suspense reasons, we didn't really keep it in just because it
Yeah.
was such a kind of blindside vote, so I wanted to keep the audience in the dark.
Yeah.
But they like came in with the plan that like we need to get Jess out. We're gonna say it's Roos. We might throw out Vanessa's name. Like all of
Hmm.
that was
Yeah.
already contrived. So when everyone was like those like especially the former Lady Lux, when they said that they didn't trust Roos and blah blah blah,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're all separately saying this, so it must be
Yeah.
true.
Right. Right. Like they hadn't had time. Like we immediately broke off into groups. There was no time for tribes to like convene. We only talked before the challenge of taking the idol and kind of figured out our game plan from that perspective. But like I immediately started talking to Ella, like,
Hmm.
um
They were just
and
all like on the same page
it
and
helps
like
that they
knew
had
what to
my name
say.
in their
Yeah.
mouth from minute one.
Right.
So, but yeah.
But even the decoy votes of it all,
Yes,
like that was very smart. I
definitely.
will say, I think Grant kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I think that he had a better path working with Lady Luck. Like I think he would
That I
have
listen, I'm not saying that like he should have gone one way or the other, but I
uh-huh.
think that the way that he convinced us by using
Hmm.
real information,
Yeah,
I think is a bad move,
that's
personally.
true.
Like he exposed the Boys Alliance, which
Yeah.
he had not talked to his Lady Luck people about. Like
Yeah.
Vanessa and Liz are legitimately shocked about that.
Yeah.
And now it's causing distrust within
Yeah.
that seven. So
That's
I'm not
true.
really sure why. Like if you're gonna like give that information, I feel like you can't go running back to the aces and be like, no, no, we're still seven strong, even though I just threw you under the bus.
I kind of, well, here's the thing. Okay, so I've been like reading The Hunger Games, so this is really on my
Oh,
mind.
okay. Go ahead.
But I'm just thinking about like if he had okay, if he was like the most convincing argument out of everyone. And I think the fact that he was giving information that seemed to be unknown to everybody else and their surprise was doubly confirming what he was saying, that he was
Right.
going to flip with us. So in that respect, because I'm just thinking about the part in the Hunger Games, spoiler alert, I guess if you've never seen the Hunger Games, but the part where he like where Peeta says he has a crush on Katniss and Katniss can't know because her reaction has to be genuine. And she's like, why didn't you loop me in?
Mm,
But it's because she needs to have the reaction in front of the audience that she's also finding out for the first time.
yeah.
So it's like you can tell Liz and Vanessa pretend to be surprised, but it's not going to be as convincing as them actually being surprised about this information. Um,
Yeah.
but I do
You
think
think
I'm
he's
giving him too.
thinking
No, no, no.
like
I was just
that?
about to say I think he's giving himself. I think I'm giving him too much credit with that. I just think it coincidentally happened to make his argument very convincing.
That is true. But again, you got to think long game here. Like sure
Definitely.
that convinces us in the moment,
Yeah,
but moving forward, it's gonna cause a lot of
for sure.
dissent.
Like, do you really want, and I think people get caught up in this in Survivor in general, is like how effectively you can fool the person you're trying to get out. Because, like, at the end of the day, as long as they don't play an idol or they're shot in the dark, like, as long as you can vote them out successfully, it doesn't matter how convinced they were or how much they trust you. I think people put a lot of time into creating a narrative that the opposing team can believe, even though, like, I'm going home. Like, me believing you means nothing to you going forward. Now you've like
Yeah,
shattered your relationship potentially with your tribe mates.
right. I will also say the framing of it was very convincing to me. Like
Hmm.
the way that he presented it to me was as if like these guys are messed up. Like
Yeah.
they didn't accept the
Yes.
girls when they came in. I was like,
Yes.
Grant wouldn't like say that unless it was
Right.
true. So I was
Yeah.
having like a moral
Yeah.
qualm about this boys' alliance.
Yeah.
And I think it maybe was taken slightly too far. But
Yeah. You
th
think he went yeah, too far with it a
maybe a little bit.
little.
And listen, we
Yeah.
get caught up in the moment, but
Yeah.
I was like legitimately angry.
About a boys alliance.
Not
Yeah.
not the concept of boys being together,
Yeah.
but because like listen, you're gonna mesh with whoever you mesh with.
Yeah.
But for me, it was the them being like, "Oh, well, Grant's a boy. He's gonna come onto the
Yeah.
tribe. Let's invite him in." And then Grant said that he didn't accept the girls coming in,
Yes.
which I was
Yes.
like, that's messed up.
Well,
Like
that
I don't.
definitely is like that definitely feels like he's describing some kind of like exclusionary practice
Right.
that feels like not okay.
So that's
Um,
why I was like extra like Bruce has to go.
yeah. I also think that like because you were so convinced, I think you convinced everybody else that we were okay. Like I feel like because I remember you were really excited because you thought you were like flipping people, and it was listen, if it had worked, it would have been very exciting. But like
Yeah.
I remember you ran up to me and you were like, we have the numbers, we have the like I talked to the original Lady Luck and we have them and like and I was like oh my god okay like I feel like I haven't really had that many good conversations but then you were like no 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 I just talked to Liz and Vanessa like we've got them
I
and
wasn't
then
as strong about Liz.
Liz was pretty much just like
Vanessa
yes
and
manning it.
Grant, I was like, yes.
Even
But
watching their footage back I was like oh my god I believe Vanessa and Grant like I was
yeah,
like they're
I
like
will tell you that that made me not underestimate them though. I will say that.
definitely yeah I like especially because I think aspects of it were true. Again, with
Right,
the Boys Alliance and then Vanessa finding out about the Boys Alliance, both of those things were true. And so the like kernel of truth that existed within those interactions of Vanessa being upset about that information and Grant divulging that information really made like it sold the whole thing in
for
a really
sure.
big way. But yeah, I do think that you're right about Grant potentially cutting off connections for the future.
Right. Let's talk about Steven's role in all of this.
Steven's just standing there saying Jess has got to go.
Right. I
Everyone's got
mean,
to stick together. I mean, obviously he is the like leader of this.
I think he's a spearhead for sure. And he's this I think this is the point where like his thumb, the pressure that he's applying, it really pays off. This is his
Yes.
move that he's been waiting
Yes,
for.
definitely. This is
Um,
100% Steven's move. It is 100% the result of him planting the fact that I'm dangerous for like the entire duration of the game. He has been like having little motivational talks about how I'm gotta get like taken out and stuff. Like
mhm.
it is all culminating in this
Yeah,
move. And I don't think that if he wasn't as strong headed about it, it might not have happened as
right.
easily. So you gotta give him that.
For sure. And he's the one pushing the decoy vote of me, which I
Yes.
think absolutely worked. Like I was like, I'm the
Yeah.
other name.
Yeah.
And if we had found that idol, we for sure would
We
have
would have
played it
played it
for
for
me.
you
So
100%. And I also like the thing for me too is like the second I saw that my name was on the first piece of parchment, I was like, it's over. Like the second it wasn't you, I was like, we're so done. Like
yeah.
we've been lied to a left, right, and center, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
that was tough to see. I
yeah,
was like, oh.
yeah,
And I thought
yeah,
like maybe they had done it, and the second that tie was broken after five and it was you
yeah,
again, I was like,
yeah,
dang.
yeah.
They were good liars.
No, they
Um,
were.
yeah, but I do want to talk about Steven like again. I think this is a good round for him, even though he's like a little
Yeah.
aggressive and like mob bossy. Um, it works, and like he
Yes.
knows to like check in on Vanessa
Yeah.
because like there is a possibility that she might flip, and
Definitely.
she probably wouldn't have, but like I
Yeah.
think it's a good move on his part to like be like, hey, just so you know, like I did say your name, but like that was
Yeah.
just a lie to like whatever.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think it calmed any sort of nerves that she may have had.
Yeah, I think that he does excel in this. His aggressiveness and as a player excels in this kind of like high stress situation where
Mm,
people are really looking for leadership.
absolutely.
Because it doesn't feel when you look at his moves round to round, it can kind of feel like he's being pushy about certain things. But then when you think about like the unexpectedness of the Murgatory and kind of like being able to look to someone who has all the answers, it is helpful for someone who maybe would be susceptible to flipping, you know,
Right.
like someone who's a little bit confused about like where the game goes from here and like what move would be best for them. If they just have someone who's been on their tribe kind of being like, do this, it's the best move. And they've been talking about it for rounds and rounds, then like you're going to look to them for
Yeah.
guidance.
I will say his pushiness right off the bat could potentially rub people the wrong way.
Definitely.
Like the fact that he was like, and if anyone's feeling selfish, like we're just gonna take
Yes.
you out next. Um,
Yeah, no, I thought the threats were a bit far because he also was, and he was saying like to GMAC at one point, he was like, I think this was about the aces flipping. He was like, well, if you flip, then we're just like we're still the numbers and we're gonna get you out next time. And that was like mostly a confessional slash just to GMAC. So like that was not as potentially damning as like talking to the entire tribe about that. But
yeah.
yeah, it does definitely feel like these like thinly veiled threats are kind of
hmm
his go-to to
It's a
control
very Boston
people.
Rob kind
Yeah,
of strategy.
definitely. Yeah.
But it works in this context,
Yeah.
and kudos to him.
I will say that I had a horrible conversation with Steve.
I didn't talk
which
to
I mean,
him.
which I mean, like,
I said I know you're
yeah,
coming for me. I'm
right,
gonna talk
right.
to
Like,
someone
I know that
else.
we're, yeah, there was no way that like was convinced in any way that he was not putting one of us down for the,
No, I was like, I'm not wasting my 10 minutes
yeah,
of discussion talking to
yeah,
Steven. I will say, I kind of think it would have been possibly a good move for us to link back up with GMAC and Roos.
Yeah, we've talked about this since. Like, I do think that that would have been better than relying on Grant, Liz, and
Grant,
Vanessa. Well, Grant, first of all, never rely on Grant. But also like these people we've never worked with in this game
right.
versus two people we were on a former tribe with and had the burgeoning alliance with. I do think that if the two of us had gone together
Yeah.
to talk to GMAC and Roos, we could have potentially made something happen
I think the best
there.
pitch actually would have been like, hey, just so you know, once the two of us are gone,
Yeah.
who's the last duo left? Hello, it's
Yes,
you.
yes. I think that
And
would have been a
I,
much
yeah,
better strategy. And I think that had we like instead of villainizing Roos, which we
yeah.
mostly did because that was the name people were giving us,
Because of the Boys
and
Alliance
because of the
thing. Yeah.
sure, but I think that we also could have said like Steven's being pretty bossy. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
do
I
you
we
think?
wouldn't have known that though, but
I guess that's true. Yeah.
yeah.
That's true. This is all in hindsight with
But
the
again, I think the framing that Grant made about the Boys Alliance made me
yeah.
like not even want to talk. I like truly didn't talk to them.
I didn't talk to them
I was
either.
like, I don't even want to talk to y'all right now.
I think I talked to Roos at one point and I was just like, yeah, I guess it's gonna be Vanessa.
Like I was like, if that's a game you're playing, like I don't want to play with
hmm
you kind of vibe.
Yeah, I
So
get that.
I think there were things that were amplified that maybe we
Yeah.
can
Tone
keep out.
down.
We can
Yeah.
tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. The
Um,
Boys Alliance stuff really is like a thread of the season. It's
huge.
crazy. I
And then
was not expecting
the
that.
Girls Alliance
Yeah.
being a part of it too. Because of the one time I told Allie, God, you say one thing, it really comes back to bite you. I told Allie one time that I wouldn't mind working with the girls.
Yeah.
Never put it into action. I
Yeah.
just said that once and it became like
Right.
a huge domino effect.
Yeah.
Um,
Allie's a snake.
Allie, why would you tell Ella that? You can't trust
Oh,
Ella.
you can't trust
You
Ella.
can't trust Ella.
I love finding out that someone wants to work with her. What if I told someone else
What if I
about
told
this?
someone else? Huh. Interesting.
So someone wants to have an alliance with me. I should probably tell people
The
who
people
wouldn't
I'm
like
not
that.
working with.
Yeah, right.
I gotta love her.
Yep.
I also do want to talk about Caroline this round because I think she, in
Yes.
terms of the aces, I think not aces, the
The
Lady
Lady
Luck,
Luck.
I think she's doing the best job at setting herself up for the future.
She definitely is. I noticed that. Like I was very impressed with her. First of all, just her like level-headedness. And also her like adaptability to what the aces potentially wanted to do. Like she seemed like, and I don't know what her motivations. I mean, obviously she eventually votes for Roos, but I feel like in a different world, she could have been flipped in a way that would set herself up really well for the merge.
Yeah,
And she seemed like to really put on a convincing, at least a convincing performance, or even if it was genuine, just like listening to what they were saying about like, I feel like you and me were kind of like blindly strong arming a little bit, like in desperation for trying to be like, please, please vote with us, please, please, please. Whereas like
absolutely.
Caroline
Yeah,
was like, well, what do you like? What works for you, and how can I help you with that plan? You know what I mean? Like versus, I think she did a way better job than the rest of us,
hmm,
at like making herself seem instrumental in a way that she would not be the person who leaves. You know?
yeah. And just being like, and I'm on the outs because
Yes.
they left me out of
Yeah,
the
that was
Dom
good too.
vote.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. I also, I mean, I didn't put this in because she had already said it, but I was doing that too to set us
hmm
up for the future. Um, just being like, yeah, like we're not really like very strong together.
Yeah.
Um, like Caroline was like left out of this vote, and
Yeah.
like, Joe's doing his own
I was gonna say
thing.
I did something similar, talking about how it's just been like a mess because we've had to keep going to tribal and like specifically that Joe was like doing whatever he wants. But then by doing that, I also downplayed Joe's threat level by being like,
Yeah,
which was my intention because we were working with him, by being like,
right.
no, I really don't think you have to worry about him. Like he's all by himself. He has no one, blah blah blah,
Yeah,
whatever.
so
So you're
hopefully
welcome,
that
Joe.
hopefully that sets us up for the
Yeah,
future. We'll see. That was the
yeah,
intention.
yeah.
But yeah, let's see what else we have to talk about. The Ella versus Grant of it all. I think she's also giving too much real information.
Yeah, yeah. So the Ella, when you say Ella versus Grant, you mean like us
Like
talking to
her,
them or them talking together? I don't remember them
no.
talking together.
Okay, no, they did not talk together.
Oh,
It
oh,
was Ella kind of throwing Grant under the bus about talking about Caroline.
yes.
And
Yes.
then, Caroline confronting Grant about it. And then
Yeah,
Grant's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
hmm,
Yeah.
Ella's gotta go,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
I thought that was interesting. I think that that is just like textbook Ella right there. Like, and also it's the other thing. I we've talked about this before with Caroline, but it's like sometimes just being straightforward is your best course of action because
Yeah.
her being able to approach Grant about it in like an amicable way
Yeah.
versus like just letting it fester and kind of being distrustful, vaguely distrustful of Grant, then now you're pitting Grant and Ella against each other and you're out of the equation, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that's what she like has done
Hmm.
really well this season.
Absolutely. And
Just kind
then,
of
sorry, go ahead.
like calling it what it is, no frills, and
Yeah.
then like she kind of fades into the background because she's the one being honest and upfront.
Yeah. And like her confessional being like, I know that Grant's talking about me. I'm
Yeah.
still gonna work with him.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I'm gonna keep this in the back of my head, but,
Yeah.
I'm gonna work with whoever I need to get me as
Yeah.
far as I can. So good on her for that one. But hold on. I'm sorry. I have this note. Why can't anyone say Bruce's name right?
I the thing that really throws me about Roos, like the Roos of it all, is a lot of people are saying it like it's spelled, but no one has like read it at this point. Like it's like, you know what I mean? Like we're
Mm,
only talking. Like I understand if you're reading his name, you would say Russ potentially,
hmm.
but like we're not we're not reading.
Well,
We're
there's
talking
Roos,
about
there's Rouge, there's Russ,
There's
there's
Ruse,
Bruce,
Bruce.
Ruse. Yeah, there's a lot that's been said. And at this
I
point,
think
it's been a
I
whole
can
day.
I know. I can really understand the confusion of like the Bruce. That one I really get.
Sure, because auditorily,
Yes,
that makes
like
sense.
and that's also another name. But like whose name is Ruse? I don't know. Like
Yeah, like that's half the reason I was so confident that we had the votes. I was like, they don't care about this man. They can't even say his name right.
what's his name? Bruce?
Was it Bruce? Oh, sorry, Bruce.
It's really the Russ for me because I'm just like what do you mean? Like
Yeah. Um, do you think anything that we said penetrated the group for distrust?
distrust amongst each other,
Yeah.
like the aces.
Hmm.
I
To
think that
potentially like flip. Like do
yeah. I think that it was very clear that they, in actuality, are not a unified group. I think that despite them being completely unified on this vote, which clearly took rounds of, calculation and like being on the same page before arriving and everything, I think once you
yeah.
look at the like center of it, the amount of like distrustful information crossing between everyone and like people not being on the same page is very clear that like come the merge, I don't think that that is going to be able to hold strong for very long.
Yeah, I just mean like is there anything that we said or did that like swayed them in any way? Because I feel like a lot of the distrust was they did it on their own.
Totally. I mean, the thing you mentioned about Caroline, for sure.
That's true. Yeah.
But I also think the boys' alliance of it all as well, like you telling Vanessa and Liz about that, um, when they clearly had no idea about it. But
Yeah.
ultimately those are all things that they said themselves that were just kind of carried by us to other members. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't really remember like I don't think I was playing a super calculated game in
Yeah.
this round. I think I was just sort of trying to like save us.
Yeah.
But I do think that they're kind of like self-imploding a little bit already.
Yeah. Okay, so who was the Jess vote good for?
Um
Steven, the boys, the
mhm.
boys. Those
Yeah, I
three.
think yeah. I do think it's good for almost everyone who wasn't like directly working with me. I think I think people who are bigger threats are hurt by it. I think it's not good for Grant.
Hmm.
It's obviously not good for you or Caroline. Um, And I'm
I
trying to think
don't
of any.
I don't think it's good for Vanessa
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't think it's good for Vanessa or Liz. I don't really
or
think
Liv
that they. I
because
think that
they're clearly on the bottom of that group.
totally. I think that they, regardless of me as a specific person, I think
Right.
that like I think them working with us as a tribe would be way more beneficial for their game than sticking with the aces.
And I think
Um,
we actually would have like brought them in like an
Definitely.
inclusive way, not like a boys
Yeah,
thing, but just like in a way that I think they would have been more valued instead of just being like numbers.
for sure. I
Um,
do think that they very much were seen as numbers for that group.
yes, especially with the relationships that have already been established with
Yeah.
them and like Caroline and Max and
Max, yeah.
Grant. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also like I feel like I mean, all the aces really like showed them that we are more trustworthy in a lot of ways. Like Max, like going up to Vanessa and being like, Steven said your name, even though obviously that was a lie.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
feel like that does indicate that he would like to work with you. So,
Totally. Yeah. I feel like we were I mean, we were really just talking to a bunch of walls at the end of the day. But the
right.
other thing is that I think it's easy to see our struggle to get votes and see us as desperate just for numbers and like not valuing them as
Mm-hmm.
players. But I
Sure.
actually think it's the other way around. Like I think that
Yeah,
we actually could have set them up for success as a five sum, whereas they remain at the bottom of the aces if they stick with that group.
absolutely. Yeah. I also do want to like shout out Max for the way that he went about that. And
Hmm.
also just like he had like a good read with Steven being like, he clearly is very confident in his
Yeah.
alliance, or he wouldn't have said the like,
Right.
you guys should have taken the thing because one of you is leaving.
Yeah, yeah. And that posturing is not great for hiding, like
Hmm.
mystifying what's happening. Like Steven acting confident gives up the gun in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So
And like obviously like you do have the numbers and it's a numbers game,
yeah,
but like you need to be more open about the future
yeah,
because like realistically are all seven of you going to make it to the end without any sort
yeah.
of, you know, switch
Right,
up? Like you're never gonna have to work with one of
right,
us?
right.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So,
I think that that is just textbook like getting caught up in the tribalism of it all and viewing it as a team game, even though it's an individual game,
right.
at the end of the day,
Yeah, we lose a little bit of sight on that one.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess just to wrap it up, how are you feeling about your overall game versus the games that like you've played in the past? Anything you've learned about yourself and for the future?
Um, Obviously this is not as impressive as a game as I played last time, which I think was hard for me to be like cut pre-jury. Like my goal is usually to make it to jury, and this is my first time not having made it to the merge. So that was pretty tough. But then when I contextualized how big of a target I was, and if I had made it to the merge, how quickly I would have been taken out probably at that stage as well. Considering my threat level, which I was like I guess really underestimating how much people were threatened by me. Like I knew that people were thinking about it, but like I didn't think it was like such a big part of the story. Um, I think that considering that, I played very well. I think that once I moved to Lady Luck, I was able to kind of start actually playing, and making some setting myself up for the future that sadly will not come. But I think that I had done a good job. Should I have stayed in this vote, I would have been going into the merge with a pretty good like group of allies and stuff. And then I think like what I learned, well, so I tried to play the beginning of this game like very low key because I think I sometimes come off very eager to like kind of start playing. And I think this time I was really trying to like listen more, talk less, and like let people give me information instead of me giving them information. But then like eventually I just sort of fell back into my like stride of how I normally play. Like I think that I kind of just am the player that I am and I can't really play differently. Um but I think that like I excel at the game that I do play. So
Oh,
when I'm able to play that game, I can do well. Like I think me trying to play a different game on the Aces
mm-hmm.
was a failure on my part. I
Yeah.
think once I switched to my mindset to like being myself, I was able to
Yeah.
have more fun, first of all, but then also I think play
Hmm.
better.
Okay, self-affirmation. Um, do you think that this is like your destiny moving forward if you ever were to play again?
Um, I do think that like yes, in some way. Like I think that I'm going to have a hard time getting to like the final tribal council in any game that I play just because I think people are so hesitant to have a two-time winner. Because I feel like the feat of getting to final tribal council as a former winner is like in and of itself an argument to win. And I think that's what people were concerned about. And I would have been too. But I do think that with enough distance and more winners and more threats that emerge,
Mm-hmm.
um, and also just like different casts and stuff, dynamics, I think that I will eventually be able to play relatively normally. I just will never be able to play the game I played in Scan ever again.
Yeah, you gotta adapt.
In the sense of like I was really not perceived as threatening in the way that I was threatening. And
Yeah,
that's a luxury I will not be afforded in the future. So,
for sure. All right. So with that, we're
will we
going
have
to
to
get
pick our
to
silly? Oh,
we're gonna get to our episode MVP. Listen, I didn't forget.
I'm sorry. I thought you were signing off.
No, 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 no. Of
No,
course.
no,
This
no,
is the
no,
best
no,
part of the
no, no.
episode. Come
I know. Okay.
on.
Okay.
All right. Do you have a thought?
Okay, I do have a thought. I'm open to discussion,
Of course.
but my initial thought was Caroline.
Okay.
We've been tiptoeing around the Caroline MVP of it all for a couple weeks because she's been playing a really good game. Um, and I just was particularly impressed by her ability to sell herself to the aces in a way that was like authentic and also calculated for how she can help them moving forward while downplaying her threat level and making herself seem like she's an asset to them in the future, and just being very like amenable and casual in her conversation. I don't know, I was just really impressed with her conversations.
Yes. I also was impressed with her conversations. However, I'm so sorry
Hmm.
stiff you again.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think just because we were all so duped,
I know.
I don't think I can give it to her. And she already
Yeah.
has already won one. Let's not
Yeah, she
forget
won the
that.
first
We're
one, I
not
think.
like,
Yeah.
totally leaving her out to
I do think
dry.
that's fair. Like we were completely fooled.
We were, and she was also in some
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would be
Yeah.
unfair.
Yeah.
I think we have to, in my opinion, we have to give it to Stephen.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think this is like this like we've discussed it. This is
Yeah.
his move.
Yeah.
All of the work that he's done this entire game has led up to this point.
Definitely. That's
So,
true.
and
Yeah,
he manages his little team pretty well,
he does.
even though it's
Yeah,
a little
I'm
aggressive.
yeah,
I
but
think
sometimes
that's
it
it.
works.
You agree?
Yeah, I think the fact that he set up what really sells me on it is the fact that he set up the like decoy votes and everything ahead of time
Yes.
and that plan. And
I
then
also
you
think
like
he's
you
the one
said,
that sells the decoy vote.
definitely.
Like he's the one
Like
really walking around being like, it's Kay.
yes, totally. Yeah. The
So
like
I
three decoy votes that they have going on.
Yeah, so I think I have
Yeah.
to agree.
Okay.
Congratulations, episode MVP, Steven. Congratulations. We are enemies in this game, but outside you have a supporter. But we do have to talk about silly goose. I feel like this is hard because there are a lot of silly geese this episode.
Okay, well, first of all, the entire Lady Luck tribe is silly
Absolutely.
goosed. Um, I think particularly you were very swayed by the ruse
It's
of
Roos, come on.
the ruse vote.
It's a Bruce.
It's Bruce. And so I do think that's like in that sense, we are all very silly. I do think that we probably could look at some of the aces for Silly Goose. What are you thinking?
Um, I mean, I think it has to be one of us, or if not
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I honestly, well, I think some of us are sillier than others. My instinct is for me because I'm the one that left, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
think if we're talking about who was fooled, I think we got to go with you, to
yeah,
be
I
honest.
think that's
Yeah.
fair. I was the most like convinced of it all,
Yeah.
but I was also the one like working it the most, I think.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I think I agree. Two-time consecutive Silly Goose winner. Let's go.
Yes. That's
Woo!
an honor, a
An
badge you can
honor.
wear.
Let's see if we can go for three.
Let's go for three. Go for three.
Let's go for
Have
three.
we ever had a consecutive three times silly goose? I
I'm
don't think
going for
so.
it. I'm going for it. Let's do it. That's it, really.
All right.
I do feel like we have to make a small announcement. Um,
Okay.
sort of large, but sort of small. We unfortunately have had some issues with our hard drive. It did break on us, and we're working on recovering footage right now. The show will exist still in some format. Don't worry. We're just trying to figure out what what we can use. So if the next episode is a little bit late, which it probably will be, that is
Yeah.
why. So please be patient with us. It's been a tough time, so that's that, and we will have updates as they come in.
Yes.
Okay. And with that,
Hoping for the best.
hoping for the best, please send us
Yeah.
your well wishes. We need
Yeah.
it. Hopefully everything gets recovered.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, the mams are very hopefully signing off.